How important is composition in drawings? It is very important. It provides the overall structure and balance of your drawing. So composition refers to the arrangement of the elements in your drawing. So it involves you deciding where to put your subject, the background, or what's in the background, how all the elements are arranged so it creates an image that is visually appealing and effectively conveys your intended message. So in this video, I'll cover a few key elements of composition, and we'll workshop a few ideas so that we can see how the arrangement of all the elements influences the image. I want to cover 7 key elements of composition. And these key elements will be our strategy when we're organizing all the elements on our drawings. The first one is called focal point. We will identify the main subject or area of interest in our drawing, and we can use techniques like contrast, color, and details to draw attention to this focal point. Second one is rule of thirds. Divide your canvas into 9 equal parts using 2 horizontal and 2 vertical lines. Then we'll position key elements along these lines or at their intersections to create balance and interest. Third is balance. We have symmetrical balance. We achieve this by mirroring elements on both sides of our composition. This will create more of like a formal or a stable feel. And then there's asymmetrical balance, and this will involve balancing different elements that have equal visual weight. And this will offer more of a dynamic and interesting composition. Fourth, we have leading lines. So we use lines within our drawing to guide the viewer's eye toward the focal point. And examples of this would be a path or a river or any kind of edge of an object. And then fifth, we have framing. How we do this is we utilize natural frames within our drawing like trees, windows, archways, and this will help focus the attention on the main subject, and it also will add depth to the drawing. Sixth, we have depth and perspective. This, we incorporate elements of perspective to create a sense of depth. We use techniques like overlapping, size variation, and also atmospheric perspective. That means we have lighter and less detailed elements in the background and more a stronger contrast or darker elements and more detail in the foreground. And then seventh, we have negative space. And this means the area around and between the subjects of your drawing. And if we use this effectively, we create or enhance clarity and balance between objects in the composition. Okay, to begin, let's figure out the things we're going to draw. I'm thinking we're going to do a bridge, trees, water, like a creek or a river, and a path. So I want to arrange all these elements in a way that it's interesting. So we're going to use these key elements of composition to figure that out. So first, let's think about the focal point, and that will be the bridge. So I'm going to sketch out a few ideas to figure out which composition I like the best. So we will use the rule of thirds to divide up our image here. It's not 100% even, but we get the idea. So I want to use my path as the leading line, and I'm going to use the trees to frame the river and the water we will make that as a leading line as well. All right, so let's sketch this out. And I want my bridge to be somewhere over here. And our path will start in the corner here. So we have our path, which leads us to our bridge. Our bridge becomes kind of like the main focal point. We have a tree here to kind of frame this in, and then put another tree here to kind of frame that in. Our rocks, shape of our bridge, got our water, and the rocks will meet with the sky here. This will create some negative space up here. Some more bigger rocks down here. Some bushes to fill in the space. Just put a bunch of rocks next to the path. Add the details of our bridge. So there's one idea. On this one, we'll have the river being the main leading line, which brings us to our bridge. So let's see, we have the land over here and land over here. And then we'll have our bridge. Here. We have a bunch of trees. sort of create a cliff here. Do some bushes. Okay, let's do one more concept. And I kind of like the style of the bridge, so I'm gonna stick with that. I'm gonna put it on this side of the page this time. I like that half circle look. It's interesting, and when it comes to landscaping, having such a obvious shape. I'm trying to draw so you can see, and I'm using a darker pencil. So when you do this, use a lighter pencil so you can easily erase. So this will be our water here. We'll frame this side in with the tree. A couple of other trees in there. One behind the bridge. Some of the background. Maybe put a little grassy hill here. Create a riverbank. Gets a little taller as we get closer. This is going to be off in the distance, so we're going to put little trees. a little hill in the background. Which is full of trees because we're in the forest. And it's very far away, so the textures and the details won't be as obvious. Add some bushes. Put a tree, very foreground. You can choose how much of the tree you want to show. All right, so let's review. We have our leading line, which brings us to our focal points. It's framed in by the tree. This is getting framed in over here. We have balance. We got a bunch of trees over here. It's kind of heavy. So we add something in our foreground, which also feels heavy. So balance is the image. We have depth and perspective by making the smaller trees out here, bigger trees up front. The use of the negative space with our hills in the background and our sky, as well as we can put a bunch of texture for the grass over here and have a really smooth, calm river over here with some reflections. This one we have our leading line here, the river, and the focal point here up in this corner where the bridge runs into the forest. We have a balance of a heavy forest over here, and of course we'll put a heavy forest over here. This is our focal point in this corner over here. We have more detail going on right here. Even with this drop that we're creating, kind of creates this leading line going this way, which then brings us up this way. So you can have multiple leading lines. We have the use of negative space with the sky here as well as down in here. And on this one we have our leading line there. We're being framed in with this tree here. And with this tree over here. Using the rule of thirds, this is our focal point where the bridge starts. And then the use of negative space with the sky again, and then right here where the water runs underneath the bridge. Depth and perspective, we have the bigger tree in the foreground here and the smaller one in the background. So before I commit to the final piece, creating these thumbnails or different ideas to figure out which one I like the best saves me a lot of time, so I don't make a really detailed drawing, putting a lot of time and effort into it and realizing I don't actually like it or it doesn't work very well. So to me, this one seems more interesting, and if I was to develop it more, I would do this and work with this design and drawing. There is a lot to consider when you're making your composition. I hope this video gave you some insight on what to think about as you do your create your next drawing. And if you're curious about proportions or about perspective or other fundamentals of art, check out my other videos. And please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video.